Back to our top story now, Li Keqiang's candid assessment of China's economy. And for more on the Chinese economic reforms, we're joined by Ann Lee in New York. She's an economist and, of course, the author of What the U.S. Can Learn from China. Always a pleasure to talk to you today, Ann. We're getting a real clear vision of Li's economic policy. Will it work? It seems the last government did not leave a lot of options.
I think it has a good chance of working. It really is about using what China already has as a talent base, and it's about really opening up, because if they do that, then you're going to introduce more competition. Competition creates more entrepreneurial activity, and that is a job creator. And this is something that they can do because they're graduating more college-educated people, and I think that this is going to be a good thing for China and the world.
Now, it seems Premier Li's confidence, based on supporting data that came out this week, which seems to signal no hard landing. Is that your judgment as well?
Well, as long as there are no exogenous factors that interject itself, right? Because you could have things like a military warfare that spills out of control in the Middle East that can spike oil prices. These other things that China doesn't have any control over could certainly derail its progress economically. But short of those sort of exogenous factors, then yes, I think it's possible that China doesn't have a hard landing and continues to grow at its current trajectory.
And it appears Premier Li is trying to please foreign investors by promising a fair playing field. Do you think the latest wave of investigations into the dealings of foreign companies is going to have any impact on the investment environment in China?
Well, I believe that the investment thesis in China for any company is the fact that they have a growing middle class, that their economy is more robust than any other one in the world. And so companies can't afford not to be in China, frankly. And the fact that Chinese companies want to invest overseas, this means that China has to play quid pro quo with the other foreign companies and foreign countries, so that if Chinese companies want to be abroad, then they also have to allow foreign direct investment to compete on a level playing field in China. So I think this is an inevitable development that will happen. With that said, I'm not saying that with an even level playing field, foreign companies are going to succeed necessarily, because when China opens it up to the foreigners, that means they're opening it up to domestic competition as well. This means that competition will be very fierce, and usually foreign companies are not going to be used to the level of competition that they're going to experience in China. And so this is going to create a situation where they may feel like it's not going to be anything that is so different than what they're experiencing now. But that's just the reality of China.
Well,
the more competition,
right.
the harder it will
Well,
be.
and you're right. Fierce competition, a cluttered environment, there's no doubt about that. Now, Premier Li also said China imports in the next 5 years will reach $1 trillion US. What does China need to do to actually hit that mark, do you think?
Well, they need to continually open up and upgrade the population to a growing middle class, because when you have a growing middle class, that means a broader consumption base. And this means that they're going to spend more on services. They're going to spend more on even products. So if they buy a home or rent a home, they're going to need to have more new furniture, new appliances, new television services and telecommunication services. All this is going to generate more jobs, and this is how they're going to grow that GDP. The other area would be just to grow more sectors, open up more sectors so that they're integrated into more supply chains. And this will also import a lot more into China.
And we're running out of time, so I wanted to get, just briefly, in about 30 seconds if you can, just talk to me about the differences you're seeing in Premier Li versus his predecessor, Premier Bao.
The biggest difference, I would say, is just that he has a completely different style. He's trained as a lawyer. He's going to be much more like Barack Obama in terms of his ability to appeal rhetorically to people and not have to have just a fatherly, grandfatherly uncle figure that Wen Jiabao had. He's going to just have a more charismatic presence in terms of he's a doer, I think. And so I would say that's probably a more stylistic difference from that perspective.
Ann Li, as
I
I said, starting off this interview, always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much for joining us from New York.